Welcome to Ecom Unlock, a curated expert series where the people actually building global e-commerce share what's working right now. Each episode, we sit with a specialist, someone deep in the trenches of logistics, compliance, payments, or commerce technology, and unpack the real strategies behind brands that are scaling internationally fast. Today's episode is all about TikTok Shop Germany, one of the most exciting growth opportunities in European e-commerce right now. I'm joined by Max Borjanek, head of TikTok Shop Germany. Max sits at the center of how TikTok Shop is scaling across one of Europe's largest markets. Welcome to the Ecom Unlock.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to be here.
Well, likewise. Okay, so let me ask you the first question. TikTok Shop Germany is still relatively early compared to the UK. What growth are you seeing so far, and what signals tell you this market will scale?
Yeah, so you're right. We are still relatively early, right? We actually launched last year on March 31st. I still remember that date very clearly. Now, the great thing is that since our launch, we've seen really incredible momentum across the board. Looking at user engagement, looking at e-commerce creator activity, live video shopping formats, and of course, our seller base has also been steadily increasing. And actually, when we look at like the market penetration, there was recently in March an interesting piece published by Nielsen IQ, the market research company, and they found that TikTok Shop has really managed to establish itself as the home for discovery e-commerce in Germany super quickly. According to their analysis, by now we've already reached a 15% market penetration among the online shoppers,
Wow.
which is really impressive.
Wow, yeah,
And when we're looking at what's driving that, like we also see that reflected by the daily sales that our sellers make on TikTok Shop Germany, right? They have nearly doubled between August 2025 and February 2026. So, and obviously the strong basis when we talk particularly Germany is just the base of monthly active users on the app, right? In Germany, we've got more than 27 million people who come to TikTok in Germany every month for inspiration. And this gives us just such a great, enormous, and very diverse audience across all demographics.
Wow, those are impressive numbers, definitely. I mean, I've seen it myself also, how quickly is growing the market, and it's again, it's very impressive. So from what you're seeing in Germany and with more mature markets, that could be the UK or the US, let's say, what separates brands that scale fast from those that are more stalled?
Yeah, that's a great question. And also, looking not just at Germany, but actually the pattern is pretty much the same. Before I went back to Germany, where I'm from, to launch TikTok Shop here, I worked in the UK with TikTok Shop, and I see the same pattern here as I've seen in the UK, which is really, it comes down to a mindset shift in how brands approach e-commerce per se, right? So if you consider like what the established e-commerce model has been looking like for the past 20 years, it's very much search-based. It's very much about how to, as efficiently as possible, capture existing intent from the user side. And TikTok Shop gives you that unique opportunity, not having to wait as a seller, as a brand, for that intent, for that search, like to come into life, but you can generate it, right? If you shift your mindset toward emotional inspiration, then you are able to generate that demand in the first place. And this is just very much in line with what happens on TikTok in general, right? On TikTok, users discover products they didn't even know they desired just by scrolling through the feed. And TikTok Shop gives them the unique opportunity to check out on the app. So the brands that win on TikTok and on TikTok Shop in particularly, they really have understood that TikTok Shop is a complete system, right? It's not just one thing. It can be a performance tool for direct conversion, It can also be used as a branding tool for cultural relevance. And it's obviously also a massive trend incubator. And those brands that really grow fast have understood that and embrace TikTok Shop in its full scope.
I mean, it's a good point, and we see that there are let's say brands that might not be known for the public, but they're extremely successful in TikTok Shop. So that's very important. So among all these brands that are overperforming, which categories are really going so well, and if you see any differences between the German market and other markets for that part.
I think what I'm really happy about observing is that we are seeing really a massive variety of categories that are thriving here in Germany. And I think that's very similar to what I've seen, for example, in the UK, that huge reach, right? That's very unique to TikTok. The reach of a huge monthly active user base just implies the diversity of the audience sellers can reach. And there are nuances, obviously, in subcategories between markets, but in general, TikTok Shop is a great place for many categories. There's hardly any brand that would not find that they can reach their target audience via TikTok Shop. So what we see in Germany particularly is, I mean, we see great success in fashion. We see beauty having been extremely strong from the beginning. We see FMCG being very strong and electronics with strong major international brands. And if I'm just thinking about the actual products behind these categories, right, there's really a range from premium olive oils over toys to electric toothbrushes up to really high-end designer handbags selling for a couple of thousand of euros. So the range is really big. And I think one thing I'm also seeing that many of these categories, they thrive across different formats, right? We see video and live being very strong. In Germany, sellers across different categories, they are already generating an average of 60% of their revenue through shoppable videos and live shopping. And so to answer your question in summary, it's actually strong growth across the board of categories.
That's a good thing, definitely. What would you think are the biggest mistakes, strategic mistakes that some brands are making when entering the TikTok Shop Germany?
I think the biggest mistake is for sure still treating it like a traditional linear funnel. What's happening on TikTok Shop is really that via entertainment and discovery, right? These different funnel stages of becoming aware of a product, understanding the product better in more detail, considering buying it, and then buying it, and even search, right? Because we also have Shop Tab. They are becoming no longer very separate steps, but they are very much interwoven. And I mean, a user basically, they might just catch a live stream or scroll through comments, watch a video, or even search for a term, and then really they instantly buy in the same place, which is TikTok Shop. So it's really that funnel is collapsing. And to think of that funnel of how do I drive awareness? How do I convey the specs of my product? And then how do I drive conversions? To think of TikTok Shop as the one place to pursue all these goals, that can be a challenge for some of the brands. Also, particularly if they've set up themselves from an organization perspective, still very separate along different waterfall steps. So I think that the key strategic shifts brands have to take in order to be successful is letting go of that linearity of funnel, and then also making sure they have the relevant stakeholders internally on board to fully leverage TikTok Shop. And then the other one is really becoming aware of authenticity as one key value proposition, right? Users these days are incredibly experienced when it comes to online content. And this means this idea of that you, by providing highly polished advertising content that would give you a certain advantage, that actually no longer holds true, right? Users actually appreciate authenticity. and rather focus on a brand who is willing and open to participate rather than in a one-way communication, deliver a endlessly polished message, which lacks authenticity. I think that's one key. And last one is really also understanding that on TikTok, with all the creator activity and all the trends arising and the discussion happening also in the app, you're no longer as a brand the sole storyteller, right? The story of your brand is already being told by creators and communities and users. And those brands that are successful really lean into this and leverage creators, right, of different kinds. And they leverage this discussion and they participate in that discussion rather than delivering a one-way polished advertising message.
Which is much more powerful, when you are introduced by third parties, definitely. So those brands are, obviously following the right path, with what you just mentioned. What is the right way, in your opinion, to expand into new countries in a successful way, so it doesn't slow down the growth? Because there is a momentum, and how do you export that momentum into new markets, in your opinion?
Yeah, that's actually the most fun part of my job, watching and experiencing and seeing when brands actually manage to apply the right approach. And I mean, it's as simple as stating that, like, our global playbooks for how to succeed on TikTok Shop, they travel incredibly fast and well, right? Because the core framework of how you succeed on TikTok Shop, that really works everywhere. Obviously, there are some local nuances, right? But adapting these global learnings is actually already a very powerful first step. And I'm quite happy to see that this is being achieved both by international brands that have experience in other markets, right? Someone like SharkNinja, for example, extremely successful in the UK and in other countries, has been able to apply their concept quite successfully to a TikTok Shop in Germany. But I also see it being applied by local brands like Svenja Walberg or WMF, Tefal, or even more German laugh brands like Tony's, that's in the audio sector. And they have also really, I think many of them have studied like how brands are successful, what are the playbooks in the UK, for example, and then adapting it to Germany. And the other part is it's not just the strategic playbook, but also like how to use our tools, like advertising solutions for the TikTok Shop, like GMV Max, or our logistics solutions like Fulfilled by TikTok. So there's a wealth of knowledge and tools out there. And the brands that are very efficient and successful at the same time in thriving on TikTok Shop, really, they just do a good job in applying these learnings.
Definitely, you see it. You see it definitely when the brands, they understand how to adapt and how to use and be efficient. Definitely, that raises operational challenges. Sometimes they could be bottlenecks. So you kind of a little bit start mentioning on how to use the right tools. What do you think they should be doing in order to, let's say, walk around those bottlenecks and be more efficient and be more operational?
Yeah. So I think that the biggest hurdle for many brands is really like operational inertia, right? I think we've seen the great success of TikTok Shop in many countries where TikTok Shop has been around for a bit longer, like the UK, like the US, like many Asian markets. And then we also have seen during the past bit more than a year the strong traction we've been on. So I think many brands I talk to really understand the big potential, and they know that this will only become bigger from here. But I think just internal operational inertia can really slow down even those that are actually already convinced that TikTok Shop is a very powerful channel. So as I mentioned previously, like with the funnel collapsing, right? So if you try to manage that channel, but like slow yourself down by sticking too closely to the traditional org charts that have been structured around other e-commerce or marketing channels, right? That's going to become quite hard. Or like very rigid P&Ls looking at where does the budget come from. You really have to think of it in an integrated way. And the best way is really to assign clear owners for that in an organization. And the other one is really then showing bias for actions with high consistency, right? So if you come to the point that you think you can reach and build your community on TikTok via live stream, then really commit to it, to going live 5 times a week and build the infrastructure. Also, the good thing is that they're not alone in that, right? For the past year, we've been building a very powerful ecosystem of agencies in Germany, and also there are strong agencies and solutions. I mean, Expand Now is one of them, right? That are also helping here in Germany brands to scale. So I think embracing that ecosystem and like leaning on the help there is, I think that's also very powerful. And then I think one of the operational challenges to add is that maybe don't overthink it too much. It makes perfect sense to think through like how to start on TikTok Shop and what should be your plan for the first 6 to 9 months. You should also be aware that some of the things you're just going to learn by being active on TikTok Shop, right? You can call it like an instant customer research, right? So you get feedback from users, you get comments and questions in live streams. You have as a brand, if you work with creators, those creators communities, they often serve as a first line of feedback already before you reach the end customer market, and really taking in all these feedbacks and iterating it. That's almost equally powerful as just the actual selling.
Totally. I totally agree with you as a partner working with you guys. And what we try to do is facilitate information and the complexity to the brand, so they have to focus, or they can focus better on how to properly do the marketing side, with creators and the ecosystem. And we truly believe in this ecosystem. I think it's TikTok is a different animal, has to be treated as a different animal in the e-commerce world, and that's the right path, definitely. I fully agree with you. You mentioned already a few examples before on some of the brands. Would you mention quickly 1 or 2 brands that you think they did it exceptionally well, and why? I think it would be a good example for people listening to us.
Yeah. So, well, and I love those stories, right? I mentioned SharkNinja already. They have been just extremely powerful in leveraging what they learned in other markets and just adopting that playbook quite well and implementing it, particularly in Germany, and activating, for example, a strong creator community. But we also have local heroes like Ravensburger. That is toys, actually, like board games. They just have a great product, and also they leveraged the affiliate channel, so working with creators quite effectively, and grew their GMV by 300% in a single quarter. And then we have like these stories like Svenja Walberg. I think I also mentioned them very briefly at the beginning of our discussion. It's a cosmetics brand, actually here from Munich. And they leaned in very much from the start. So they were an early starter already in Q2 2025. And already in the first quarter, they reached 1 million euros in sales within the first 3 months of our existence, by going all in on doing regular lives with their founder, Svenja, building a really strong creator community that gives them 4,000 to 5,000 creator videos every month, right? You have to think of that's a lot of awareness they can create. And then there are other cases which are equally inspiring. There's a seller of pre-owned designer handbags, Phobe, and they're really managing to drive high ticket sales through live shopping by really taking the time in lives to explain the products and in all detail, and really very credibly convey all their knowledge about these designer handbags. So there are many of these stories that are super inspiring for me and the team every day.
We love to hear them all, to be honest, because it's always inspiring, and sharing is learning and closer to success. So I think the more we can share, the more we can help, definitely, to other brands. So, Max, if you had to give one piece of advice to a brand entering to TikTok Shop Germany today, what would it be?
Yeah, it's 2 things, right? One is German consumers have a very high bar, and they really expect excellent selection in terms of products, fair pricing. So, and this is great, right? Because it really is it's a great trigger for any seller starting on TikTok Shop to really try to be really excellent in what they're doing. But at the same time, have confidence and optimism, right? Because Germany is just really a massive e-commerce market, and TikTok is super well positioned with our 27 million monthly active users. So it gives you so much room for growth. And I think if you consider these two things, right? Aim for really a great customer and user experience, but also like really understand the big potential. These are probably the two things to have in your mind when you start on TikTok Shop in Germany.
Those are really good advices. Thank you so much, Max. It's been really a pleasure having you today, and I think we all learn a little bit more on what to do right and what not to do in order to be successful. All the best to the TikTok Germany team, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel. It was great.